How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
What's shaking? How's your Sunday?
It's been good. It's been good.
Yeah.
I had I just did a little run before this, so that was
Nice.
nice.
That always feels good,
Got
right?
yeah. I can't say I got to sleep in because I was taking care of some dogs, and they're it was a 6 a.m. wake up, so I've been up a little longer than.
I get it. I brought my two dogs over to my girlfriend's house, and they're like the only two dogs for the most part that my dogs are the most relaxed with. Like
Right.
never have an issue, and they just go crazy. And she lives on 14 acres, so
Yeah.
we like let them rip.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
And it's like
That's a good pet sitting thing right there.
it is, and it's fun. So like if she's busy, I'll take one of her dogs. It's just so nice to be able to swap out dogs
Have that
without
back and forth.
they're like gonna get along or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, eventually you gotta get paid for it through WagWorks, right? Now.
Right, I know. Yeah. So see, I'm the perfect person to have on your podcast because now I'll just start spreading the word among my people.
Oh, that's great. Well, Erin Murphy, thank you for joining. You are a pilot, an author, and an animal advocate. It would be three good terms to describe you there. And so, we had hopped on our preliminary call, and you just had so much cool stuff, and we're gonna do a two-parter. So,
Yes.
first episode with you, I want you to take me through kind of those early days, when you were starting to explore wanting to be a pilot, as well as balancing that with adopting your first dog.
Sure. So I became interested in aviation in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. So I liked going to the air show with my family, and so much so that even when the aircraft came in to set up for the air show several days prior, I was equally as excited to even just watch them fly over
Just to watch this come in.
like
That's
buildings.
awesome.
Yeah, I was like, oh, the air show is really coming. Like I'm actually tangibly watching the aircraft show up. So
Yep.
my parents fostered that in me, and they found someone to teach me a few introductory lessons, and I absolutely loved it. So money was a limitation for my family, but my parents were really resourceful. So I kind of set up my own little babysitting business in my neighborhood, and I would take a lesson about once a month with that money. And then I really moved on up to McDonald's. I was working the fries, and
Yep.
then I got to wear the headset for the drive-through.
That's awesome.
I was like,
You made it
I was that
then when
much
you got the
closer.
headset.
Yeah, I was that much closer to aviation with the headset. So I rocked that for a while. So I was always doing small jobs to facilitate the flight lessons. And I always had an affection for dogs. I had bravely and boldly manipulated my parents into allowing me to get a Maltese Terrier named Jasmine when I was in high school.
Yep.
I had cashed in a small stock that my grandfather had given me, so that was the angle. I was paying for it myself.
Yeah, who needs to save that anyways, right? Let's go
You
ahead.
say that,
Exactly.
yeah, future schmoocher, whatever.
Yeah,
Totally
exactly.
overrated. Like live in the now. That was my attitude at 15, apparently.
Hmm.
So then I went to space camp in Huntsville, Alabama. They have an aviation challenge program.
Yep.
And that all became very obvious to my parents that I wanted to pursue this in college. So
Yeah.
we talked to my school guidance counselor, and then she led us to some information. And then I ultimately went to an aviation school in New Hampshire
Nice.
called Daniel Webster College, and that's where I got all of my certifications and ratings.
Yeah, definitely. And so when you were first, I guess, finding the person to fly with in Scranton, also home of the office, we have to, gotta put that up there.
Yeah.
But was that hard to do? Was it hard to find someone nearby, or were there, was that a pretty popular thing then?
So most small airports have some kind of a flight instructor or a flight school. So it's not really out of the reach of anyone, to be honest. It just takes a little bit of research, and then being right there at the airfield for the air show, you could probably turn to someone to your left or your right, and because they're already attracted to an air show, they very likely are connected to aviation. So
Right.
you can, if you, all it takes is finding your local airport, giving them a call, say, I would like to do an introductory or discovery flight. That makes a great gift for someone too. If you
Sure.
just want to, even if you're not looking to pursue it as a career, even if you work through your first solo, it's still a feather in your cap. I mean, it's a pretty interesting little niche in little where aviation world is pretty unique to be a part of. So I wouldn't
Definitely.
discourage anyone at any age to begin looking into that.
Yeah, and it means even more if they sell their stock to give you the gift. Like
Solid stock, right?
that's
Right.
yeah,
So,
that's
right. If you have stock that's like $500 or something,
Right, right.
adopt a dog or take a flight lesson.
Yeah.
To you.
So I wonder, kind of on a different note, how, because I had mentioned I have a couple buddies, Nate Gross and then Jackson North, who are going through the flight, I guess, different paths of flight. Again, it's always confusing to me. But that being said, kind of talking about like the prices and paying for flights, has that changed considerably? Like
Yes.
as you've been a pilot, has it
It
gone up?
has. Yes. And I can't speak to anyone who what anyone else feels. However, um, regardless of what year or time frame you did it in, if you still just don't have a lot of money, you still feel like you're drowning. So
Right.
for me, what I wish my younger self had, and I wish what my parents had too, because they were equally as concerned about it as I was. When I started to see how much debt I was going into in college, because I paid for my own college,
Yeah.
my parents and I had an open conversation about it. They wanted me to be, aware, even
Hmm.
though as a child, like what exactly I was doing here. Um, quite literally wish someone just put their hand on all of our shoulders and said, "This is doable." It is a task. I mean, it is something to be taken seriously and come up with a plan. But there are people who also buy a house for hundreds of thousands of dollars. They
Right.
have a child for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they
Exactly.
figure it out. So I kind of categorize it as like paying for education or flight lessons, like if you have to take out loans and then pay it back over time. I kind of look at it as the same thing. It's an investment of love, whether it's a child or a home. And I personally wish that education was perceived that same way because no one can take that education away from you.
Yeah.
Zero. And then when I paid it off and the confidence I had went through the
Oh,
roof,
I bet.
because like I did it. I had no one to thank but myself.
Yeah.
No, definitely my parents for their guidance, but
Sure.
it was so rewarding to just tackle it. And so for those who are listening, they're in aviation. I finally paid off all of my student loans right when I was about 34. So
Nice.
like I would say 10 to 15 years is what I looked at.
Right. And I think a lot of jobs like, becoming a pilot or going to school, going to med school or going to dental
Mhm.
school, that kind of stuff, you have in the back of your mind, even though it's a insurmountable cost that you're having to take out, you know that you'll be getting a fairly good salary like once that starts. Versus me, I did, political science major and minor in biology and chemistry, and now I'm walking dogs.
Now
So
you're walking dogs. Hey, so am I though.
exactly, exactly. So as from there, you graduated, and then you had a couple different places that you flew for before ultimately ending up at United. Is that right?
Yeah, so again, I would call it it's just shy of a decade to become really eligible for working at a major legacy
Oh,
carrier.
really?
It would be United Airlines, Delta, American Airlines, and then the subsidiary low-cost carriers that are also very reputable, like JetBlue, Southwest.
Hmm.
So you're looking at, and it's primarily because you need to build a flight time, and then you also need to be 23 years old to obtain your airline transport pilot certificate. So that is a
Gotcha.
test that needs to be taken. So they're just looking for maturity of years behind people too and experience. So I flight instructed at the college that I graduated from, which was great because I got to learn and teach aerobatics and motor gliders in addition to like your standard flying.
Hmm.
That was all in New England. And then I flew for a fractional company called Plane Sense that is still in operation today. And I flew a Pilatus PC-12. It's like private corporate flying.
Cool.
And then I flew down in Cape Cod, Massachusetts for a company called Cape Air. They have really expanded, but it's a single pilot operation for the aircraft that I flew, which was the Cessna 402, and we had like 9 passengers in. I would fly Hyannis, Nantucket, Boston, Martha's Vineyard, and I did some flying for Florida and Caribbean for them too, because they have outfits down there.
Very cool.
From there, I flew at a regional airline called Chautauqua Airlines, and I
Hmm.
flew a 50-seat passenger regional jet, primarily in the United States, a little bit of Bahamas, Canada, things like that, but not too
Hmm.
much. And then in 2006, I got hired by Continental Airlines, flying the 737. I lived in Houston, Texas for that.
Hmm.
And then I ultimately transferred over to the 757 and 767. We fly both of those at the same time, same certification for that. And transferred back out to Newark. And then now I'm currently flying the 787, and I'm still in Newark. So
And
the
you
next
do
step,
international mostly now, right?
I do, yeah. And I like the long haul trips because it allows me to have more days off because I get more flying in a shorter amount of days
Exactly.
a
So
month.
you're 18 days a month now. Is that what you said?
I usually have about 18 days a month off, and that's even average. I mean, sometimes I'll even have 20. And just to give people a point of reference, so I'll be there 20 years this April, and I would say
Wow.
my schedule got that good. Again, after the 10 year, that's first 10 years it can be a hustle. And so I mean it's just longevity, is what gets you that.
And being able to kind of like maintain and do everything. And so at the same time, was it specifically when you got back to Newark that you started volunteering at the SPCA, or were you doing that
Yeah.
before at other places?
Yes, I did. I dabbled in it in Cape Cod, but I really didn't have enough time because that's when I was really hustling to pay off my student loans. So I
Yeah.
always waited tables or something else in addition to my flying jobs.
Really?
Oh yeah. I just wanted to
Wow.
like
And you've
tackle
been
them.
doing that since you were, I don't know, in high school, probably before, right?
Yeah,
Like
I'm
continue to
already
work.
ready to retire, right? It's always in some kind. The restaurant business is, for my experience at least, is pretty flexible. So I always was like, made myself available to people who just wanted to drop a shift really quickly. And
Right.
I was like, check my schedule. Oh, I'll be done flying at this time. I could pick it up. So that's kind of how I made myself available throughout those first couple flying jobs, a
Right.
lot of tables. Um, and so when I got back to Newark, based in Newark, so I now reside in Pennsylvania with my husband. And I would always kind of like needle him a little, kind of playfully, kind of serious, kind of sort of just to see what he would say. Like, hey, I think we should get a dog.
Yeah.
And that led to some more serious conversations of what I just said. He's like, I just don't think our schedules are quite there yet,
Right.
It's not there. So I decided to volunteer. I really reconciled with that. I
Mhm.
liked it. I was okay with it. I was no longer trying to work any angle with my husband. I simply,
You were good with it. You're like, all right, this is how it's gonna be.
right, right. Like I'm always manipulating people, whether it's cash in stock from my parents, get a dog with my husband. It's like constantly work in the room.
Yeah, that's right.
But I just decided to just do this, and it really felt good to be of service. I liked
Yeah.
it. And I was kind of a fly on the wall at the SPCA, I have to share. I kind of just went in, walked dogs, and then kind of headed out. And I don't know, my life was still really busy then. I had
Hmm.
just paid off my student loans. My husband and I just got married. I just got a house. So I just needed things to kind of be simple.
Sure.
And that's satisfied it for me for a
You
long
seem
time.
very, very organized and very just from, hearing this and like we talked earlier, you've had a lot of stuff kind of planned out and you're able to also like deal with that. Like, if you aren't able to spend as much time or get a dog, you're like, all right, here's another option. I can do this. I'm happy with this. Let's keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I always, and I honestly kind of attribute that to a little bit of my upbringing. So when you don't have a lot of resources or financial resources, you know, to me, there's two schools of thought. I mean, and it's unfortunate. Some people kind of get stuck or intimidated, or you could look at it and be like, but how else? Or what other way can I do it? So, I mean, really, that's kind of what my parents did. They paid for my very first introductory fight, but then they were like, I mean, that's it, Erin. Like this, I mean, with the buck stops, quite
Sure.
literally, the buck stops here. And then I was just like, well, I really want to do this. Like, what else could we possibly do to like facilitate this? And
Mhm.
that's when we talked to my guidance counselor, and then the babysitting thing started happening. And then,
That's cool to have a guidance counselor that's so helpful too.
yeah, definitely, that was very valuable. Absolutely. So whenever I go to like aviation events at airports, like I participate in the American Helicopter Museum and Education Center often. I just love when I see people bring children there because even if you don't have the answer as the adult, you're getting them around people that do. And that's actually even one thing that I learned at Daniel Webster College. Like when I was studying for my check rides and with all the different airplanes and the checkouts that you have to do, it's always very intimidating. And what kind of really helped take the anxiety away is one of my professors there, like he would preach to the students, you don't have to know everything, but you do need to know where to find it. So, like, what manual do you need to go? So, if your examiner asks you a question and you're only kind of familiar, you can say what you do know about the topic and then say, but I would then refer to such and such manual to make sure I was right because I'm not 100%. And like
Right.
those are legitimate answers because it's impossible for all of us, I mean, collectively, to know everything.
Oh, sure.
Like, how many times do we go on Google a day?
A million. And
A million?
Now
Like,
that Chat GBT's out, I mean, I'm using it all the
right,
time. Like
right.
even like customer things. I'm like, yeah, well, here was the text that this happened, and like, what do you think? You know, and they're like, you're okay,
Totally.
Richmond. And I'm like,
Yeah.
thanks.
So it's just being resourceful, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you kind of took that to, back to the SPCA, and that's a pretty. And we were talking about that's a pretty nationwide kind of rescue
It is. Yes. And
dog
then
shelter rescue kind of thing.
Mhm. Yes, and then so each state kind of puts their letter in front of the SPCA. So this would be like the PSPCA. And then there's even an international one. They have actually done some international rescues and
Yeah.
like wildly impressive to me. Like I'm not even sure how they organize all those
Oh
logistics.
yeah, I'm sure. I
Like
mean, I think it's cool how seriously they take the the volunteering as well. Like you talked about, you have to go for a little while before you can able to like do certain things, right?
right.
Like I don't know what you were maybe doing some pictures or some dog walks, and there was like take the dog for a day and go, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you can kind of move up in volunteer status and they identify or they let volunteers identify themselves of what level they are by the color lanyard,
Hmm.
which is great for me because I'm a middle level
Hmm.
volunteer. So if there's a dog that's challenging, or if I have a question, or a dog that's a handful getting in and out of a cage, I immediately have my eyes looking for the more senior colored volunteer person to give me a hand. And then likewise, if the newbies are green, and
Right.
so if I see a green person, maybe that again, maybe has a dog that's a handful or just is juggling something physically, dog food, whatever, you might want to just go over to them and say, hey, can I help you out for a second?
Yeah.
It was me at one point. I didn't,
And
I was just sort of like there.
exactly. And I think it was cool too. Like, I remember you mentioning you're very happy with that. You're very happy to be kind of middle of the pack with that because again, you only have certain amounts of time and you're able to kind of step up and do a little bit more, but it's also nice that you don't have to be the one to answer all the questions all the
Right.
time.
Right. Yeah. Like I don't necessarily like to, I have no desire to be in charge at in any kind of real capacity at the shelter. I mean, that's what the staff members are for, and they do a great job of it. I just like to interact with the animals. I really do.
Yeah. That's great. And then so when did this turn into your husband kind of realizing that you guys might be getting a dog? It was Homer was the first one that you fostered, is that right?
Yeah, so when I moved up in the volunteer status, then you have the opportunity to take a pet home for an evening, just give
Yeah.
them a break from the shelter. So I thought, oh, this is even a little cooler. Like we can bring them to the house, blah blah blah, give them some treats, make them a good meal, and then bring them back and just hopefully have them reset for the day. So I was sending my husband photos of, hey, what about this one, that one? And actually, Homer was kind of a handful to walk. Did a lot of significant leash pulling, which a lot of
Yeah,
the shelter dogs do. Like they don't have the discipline. Most of them don't have the discipline right away.
sure.
And so I mean, I told him that. I said, well, I mean, he's not the easiest guy. And his exact answer in the text was, Homer is cool. Like it's cool.
He's
Like it
cool.
was always like he is cool and whatever his problem is, it's cool with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I pulled up, I like 5 minutes before I pulled in the driveway, Homer was in a crate. He pooped in the crate and he threw up. He was really nervous. He
Yep.
was
Not
drooling.
very cool. Not very
No,
cool,
he
Homer.
was no cool. Yeah, the situation was actually not that cool. So I felt I need to communicate that. And I called my husband like as soon as I'm ready to pull in. I said,
Mhm.
okay, we're here. And I just explained his situation. I said, his anxiety is really high. And as soon as I pulled in, I put it in park. My husband opened the door. He already had his leash on in the crate. And John just opened up the crate and brought him out. And he was like, all right. And like within 15 minutes, he goes, I think we should adopt him. This was off my radar. So
Yeah, you had turned that like that was not gonna happen. That was
not going to
yeah.
happen. This is just what Erin does. She brings dogs home once in a while. So I was actually kind of just silent. I mean, I just like was digesting his response and how
Hmm.
quick it was. Um, and he quite literally went to our little office and he came down with our printed flying schedules, which we get once a
Hmm.
month. So
Oh, and
said,
he's also a pilot. I did want to
yes.
mention that too. That's where you all had met originally.
Yes, yes. Our
Okay.
love story began at that little airline out in Cape Cod, Massachusetts called Cape Bear. So
Awesome.
that's where we
Awesome.
met.
Yeah.
He's looking at his American Airlines schedule, my United schedule, and he goes, "Okay, just looking at this without trying to orchestrate any kind of actual schedule where one of us is primarily home, we would have to put him in like overnight dog daycare, probably like 5 nights a week." And he
Hmm.
goes, "So, like without trying." He goes, do you think that's really that bad if he goes to doggy daycare 5 nights a week? Or if he does, like, if we find a nice place we're comfortable with overnighting? I'm like, not really. I said,
Yeah.
I don't know. Because at the time they used to tease Homer. Although he was nervous and pulled on his leash
Hmm.
when he was in the play groups with the other dogs, they called him King of the play yard. Like he was real social and he liked it.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, I had that information. I thought, I mean, he might actually even do well at the daycares. I mean, some of the dogs really thrive.
Sure.
So, it was challenging because now we're vested in this guy. He stays the night. We're obsessed with him.
Hmm.
And he's very nervous. He drools a lot. He's part boxer, so that is kind of the drooling, but it was pretty clear it was anxiety. He was just
Hmm.
a really nervous guy. He didn't know
Yeah.
what was going on. He had already been adopted twice and returned. He's reactive in a busy household. So, like,
Sure.
kids who just run because they're kids, or they
Hmm.
drop a book, or they're going up and down the stairs 100 times. He can't handle it. He
Yeah.
just like will growl at that and try to let everyone know to calm down. But what's a family to do? So he was returned twice.
Hmm.
So we knew that about him, but we did not have children, and we also even don't even live near our family members.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty quiet household, and I just thought I think we're really a good fit for him. It was actually really challenging because um, I, of course, now messaged the manager before I even bring Homer back,
Hmm.
and I said, we're interested in him. I said the problem is we're both flying tomorrow for like the next 3 days.
Hmm.
They were like, this is not a hold policy. I mean, if he's gone, by the time you come back from your trip, he's gone.
Yeah.
So I remember I was in Madrid, Italy, and or Spain, and John was in Italy. That was it. He was in Milan,
Hmm.
and we were both like the whole. I didn't even leave the hotel. I got room service. I just kept looking every 5 minutes on the
Yeah.
website to see if like his picture disappeared.
Yeah.
They did remove the photo when they get adopted. So that was it. We did our trip. Nope. And I mean, because he was so drooly and quirky in the shelter, he did not get a ton of attention.
Hmm.
So I kind of knew that, but I mean, anyone could adopt him.
Right.
They didn't, and then he became our Zeke. And
Hmm.
so we fostered 10 dogs after that, just because I started to be so much more involved at the shelter, and
Yeah.
I didn't really want to stop.
Sure. And that was
He
probably good for Zeke as well to continue
It
to interact
was.
because,
Mhm.
to continue with interact with those dogs. So yeah, Homer renamed to Zeke. Did he pick
Yes.
that up? Did he pick it up pretty well?
Yeah, so they told us to pair it. Just keep calling him Homer
Homer
Zeke,
Zeke.
and then just drop Homer. So we just ran
Nice.
around like, we're so in love with them. We were like, whatever you want us to do to ease
Yeah.
the transition, we'll do it. So yeah, we just called him Homer Zeke for probably about 2 weeks, and then we
Hmm.
just dropped the Homer.
That's awesome. And so on your 10th, what was it? Another like foster fail, is that right? Is that
Yeah,
where
that was
Dexter?
that was our Dexter. Yeah, so his
Yeah.
his shelter name was Dexter Morgan, like that
Yep.
serial killer show.
Yeah. Have you seen that before? It's really good.
I know everyone loves it. It's really. Well, he's like the antithesis of Dexter Morgan.
Right.
He was afraid of everything. He was not a killer. He wouldn't look at anyone, and he was like significantly afraid of my husband. So again, I really thought we were fostering him, and we had him for a while. We had him
Mhm.
for like 3 months. I brought him everywhere. I
Yeah.
introduced him to everyone. I thought he would do best in a woman only household, like mom, daughter, or just all woman, like that
Mhm.
worked from home. I thought would have been ideal because he had separation anxiety. I brought him everywhere, and then we finally realized we were advocating for him so hard because we loved him.
Yeah.
That was it.
And it
I
worked
said,
out
I know. And then so John said, "Oh, are we going to have a second dog?" And he really did not want a second dog. He likes putting all of his love and attention into
into
one
right.
dog. Yeah. And what we liked about Dexter being a fit for being a brother for Zeke was
Hmm.
that he sort of just left Zeke alone. Zeke does get a little territorial in our house, so when we meet people, which is why he was returned to, he needs to meet people outside and
Oh,
then
okay.
get used to them before they come in. So, like, if you come knocking at our door, it's a situation.
Yeah, it's
It's
not.
over. You ruined it. Like you're
He'll
never
he'll
gonna
poop and vomit everywhere again. No.
right, he'll poop, he'll vomit. Now he's barking at everybody, and like he refuses to let the other person in the house. I mean, he's done that to people that he even knows. Like
Yeah,
he just needs to warm up for a few minutes outside,
exactly.
and then we can come in.
And,
So
and so what was the timeline on getting Zeke and then getting Dexter?
5 years. So we had Zeke for 5 years
Okay.
first. Yep.
And was that because I remember it kind of goes into eventually COVID pretty much
Mhm.
hit, right? And so that how did that kind of impact your job, your husband's, and kind of how did that ultimately lead you to your next venture?
The next venture was the authorship, so writing books about Zeke and Dexter. So the first one was just when we had Zeke, the
Hmm.
first book, and that was when I took writing courses during the pandemic because we
Hmm.
were grounded from flying. So the type of aircraft that I flew at the time, the 757 and 767,
Hmm.
primarily flew to Europe and passenger service. So some of our larger aircraft kept flying a lot because they were doing cargo, but my aircraft was not a candidate for that. So I
Sure.
literally was not flying for months.
Yeah.
I had already kind of loosely played around with a story about Zeke because he is quite the character. He's got the
Yeah.
upside, he has a significant look. And I just started to kind of play around with that just to redirect my energies when I wasn't flying. And
Yeah.
then as I do, I started to nose around online, like, geez, I wonder if I could actually write a book or how could I
Yeah.
get it in print for my family and friends? What does that entail? I found some very affordable children's book writing courses from a
Hmm.
company called Journey to Kidlit.
Hmm.
And this is when we were all really delving into online stuff. So I
Yeah.
joined the party on that and I just learned how to write a children's book.
Yeah. And the origin of it was when you and your husband would go on hikes, right? Because
Yes.
originally it was gonna be Zeke in the Creek.
Zeke in the Creek was the original title because we do a lot of hiking at a creek and he was
And that
afraid.
was during COVID, right? Right. Kind
Yeah.
of a
Oh,
way to
yeah.
spend
We were
time.
hiking every day. We live in a wonderful setting. We have like 400 acres that don't belong to us but are private, and so we
Right.
are allowed to go hiking on them,
Nice.
which is really great because it's private land too. So we can take him off his leash and he just like goes. So there's
Oh,
a
that's
couple of
great.
creeks in there, and he was like, when we first moved here, he was horrified of the creek. He didn't understand.
Hmm.
He didn't like the moving water. He didn't
Yeah.
understand. He got on. He would look around. He'd be like, "This is ridiculous. I'm getting
Well, he
off."
knew that his parents are usually in the sky, so he was like, I don't really,
Yeah, he's more of an airborne guy.
Mhm.
So he didn't really care for that. So my husband and I started to joke around and kind of formulate some silly language around a story about him. And then we were hiking more and more in the pandemic, and the story we would bounce back off and forth from each other just got bigger and bigger. And then like it just sort of planted a seed in
Yeah.
me. I just would kind of like quite literally be thinking about it while I'm like brushing my teeth, like, how can can I write this story? How do I do that?
Yeah.
So that's when the writing courses took shape. And then I also did
Sure.
some really great workshops at Gotham Writers in New York City. They have a phenomenal reputation. They do more than just children's books, screenplays, anything. It's a really professional setting, and I got a lot out of their workshops.
Oh, I'm sure. So, I mean, where did this, I guess, love for writing stem from? Do you think it was like really started when you guys were kind of walking and you're like, I have some time during COVID, I might want to explore this, or is this something that you'd been kind of thinking about before then?
So I've always liked story, like someone's story. Um, I just like even like movies, television, which I know people kind of like criticize people for like, oh geez, you shouldn't go to bed with the TV on. I don't know. My husband and I love it. We have a little
You
stove.
know what?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, whatever works.
I have plenty of time hiking in the woods and I'm connected to nature and
Like I
I'm
know
alone.
nature, I can watch my TV.
Yeah, like I'm totally down with all that, and I can understand why people don't want you to. But I like the power story. My husband and I have always read books. Even when we were dating, we used to read like a lot of thriller and mystery ones, like by James Patterson, and we would like
Yeah.
initially read it at the same time. And
Oh, cool.
like to paint a picture, like read it at the same time. Like I knew he was reading when he would go on a work trip, and then I would go on a work trip. So this is like pre-dog. So
Yeah.
we're working at the same time. And then like when we came home, be like, well, what page are we on, or what happened, or what do you think this person looks like? So he
How cool is
has
that?
like story.
Yeah.
And like if there is a movie that's based on a true story, he will kind of like, earmark it from when we're together having one of our TV dinner nights or something. And he'll be like, oh, there's a movie that I thought you would like. It's based on a true story. So I just always liked that.
That's so cool to have that connection with you, like you and John, like that's
It
kind of
was
your
fun.
thing. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, I used to read a lot back in the day, and then I need to get back into it. I
Well,
need.
I have transferred a lot to audiobooks because I have an hour and 45-minute drive to
Mhm.
the Newark airport. And I used to think that was like this really weird, like middle-aged person thing to do is listen to these audiobooks.
Yeah.
I mean, now that there's podcasts and
Oh, sure.
all these kinds of things, I think the stigma is kind of taken off it. At least it is for me,
Yeah,
and I really enjoy it. Like I will, even if I'm running errands, I'll have my audiobook going,
I
and
love it.
that and a cup of tea from Starbucks. It just
Sure. Just hang out.
the
I mean,
annoying
it's
errands
nice.
better.
Yeah, and the thing is too is like you can. I forget who I was talking about this with, but just having the availability to listen, just have something in your ears while you're walking or doing something kind of monotonous, but you're still
Mhm.
really learning knowledge or gaining things. And even if it's like I listen to Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, that's my like all the time. Like I pay for their Patreon now, like I love it. And
Mhm.
I just love having that going in the background, which is so funny because a couple years back my dad and I went on this camping trip.
Mhm.
Obviously no TV out there, so we were like, let's try listening to a podcast. And like we tried, we're like, this stinks, And then like years later, I'm like, just I can't not have a podcast on listening, and then like I'm making one, so it's kind of funny
All
how it
right. Well,
happens.
we all evolve as time goes on, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So I never really had a specific affection for writing, but the part of writing that really got me when I started taking the writing courses to see if I actually really wanted to write a book or whatever, it actually turned on my pilot brain because you
Really?
can self-publish a book however you like.
Yeah.
And now that I tell you this, you will never unsee this.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
over. I'm ruining it for everyone, but it's actually kind of cool. Um, there are rules to writing a children's book, and
Hmm.
like one of them that's really prominent that you will never not see again. It's called the rule of three.
Okay.
So you can do rule of three, and it's suggested to do all three rules of three. So the first one is in the plot, there is usually a challenge, a challenge. It looks like they're going to win, but then they have a setback and then they have the win.
Right.
So, an example we all know, Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Right.
Easy, right?
Sure.
Okay. And then the rule of three to integrate in language
Yeah.
is like you want to repeat, like if you see a repetitive word like a train is going choo choo choo, that's
Hmm.
it. There's three chews.
Huh.
Or bubble gum, pop pop pop. There's
Right.
never more than three pops.
Interesting.
And so an example of that, now it doesn't have to be, it can be repetitive word or
Hmm.
it can be a phrase. And the perfect example that we all know is I'll huff, I'll puff, I'll blow your house down.
Yep.
And then that happens three times within the book too, the huff, the puff, and the blow your house down. So
Right.
once you come up with the story,
Yeah.
then you have to try to come up with these rules of three. It's
Huh.
actually like really structured and organized. So
Interesting.
my Zeke with my first book, Halfway Home, in the storyline, I just adopted, like quite literally adopted, and then
Yeah. Double adoption.
double adopted his story.
Adopt, adopt, adopt. Rule of three.
Adopt, right. His true to life story that he was adopted twice and returned. So that
Hmm.
was his almost win setback, and
Huh.
then his final adoption. So that's how
Very
I
cool.
put it in there. And then even if you read an adult book, you'll very often see it. If a character walks into the room, they usually do three things in a sentence. So Erin walked in, she put her book down, picked up her cup of tea, and then took a sip.
Hmm.
It's almost always three. And then also, so all of that is to say, in the aviation world, when we are speaking to air traffic controllers, they are to not give us any more than three instructions at the
Huh.
same. So I was just like, do
You're
my
like,
brain
this
was
makes
like,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, there was like smoke coming out of my ears. I was like, oh wow. So even really unorthodox and fun books like the Dr. Seuss series where things seem like they don't make sense,
Hmm.
you can see the rules of three and everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that something that like just like people noticed that early authors were doing, and then like, did you learn this from Gotham or from Kid Lit?
Both. Both. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like a literary kind of like rule. So like here's a great example. So like here's my page and
Hmm.
halfway home. So I even have three images and
Hmm.
then three different parts of the same situation.
Yeah.
And you'll see this in like all books now. Just everything is
How
three.
how cool is
I
that?
know. So you'll never not unsee it.
No, yeah, now I know
That's
the
my
rule of
breath.
three. Now I have an excuse not to read. I'm like, I'm seeing threes too much. What's going on? So we have a couple minutes left on this one. So do you want to share a little bit about, what that process was actually writing that book and
Sure.
connecting with the illustrator and everything like that?
So I ended up writing the book probably over the course of a year. I did about four different manuscript critique sessions. Within that session, I have to admit, and I'll keep it short, but I did not have any aviation elements in my first scenario. And
Oh,
then the
okay.
manuscript critiquer said, "There's nothing wrong with your book. However, from a marketing standpoint, even if your goal is not to be change your career into an author and have a wildly high selling book, you
Hmm.
still want people to purchase whatever you invest in to sell."
Right.
Um,
And that's a huge part of you and who you are is the aviation.
I
So,
know. I just kept it all about. I mean, I had my love goggles on for Zeke, and that was all that I wrote about was him. So she said to me, like, let me paint a picture for you. If you're a dog lover and you already have six books on your shelf about animal rescue or dogs, why are you going to buy yours and make it a seventh one?
true.
I know, and I was like, okay, I received that. And so
You're like, okay.
I
Like,
get it.
my book is good, by the way.
Yeah, it is good. I don't know if you saw my rules of three; they're in there, but I worked really hard on those. And so I did understand what she was saying though. So I immediately thought about, I loosely knew about some animal air rescue. I ended up talking to the manager at the SPCA. And like I said in the beginning, I was really kind of a wallflower there. I kind of went in and out. That was fine and served me that time in my life. But I didn't realize everything they did. And she's like, "We have animal air rescue flights twice a month." I was like, "What? Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing?" So fast forward volunteering at the airport, and
Yeah.
I was so overwhelmed by everything that I saw. I couldn't believe how large scale it was, how like and how frequently this was happening and how beneficial it was for the animals. So when I drove home from the airport after that first volunteering visit, I thought I'm rewriting halfway home.
Yeah.
So it took me about a year to write it, and I went with a hybrid publishing house. So they assist you with getting your ISBN, getting an illustrator, and then laying out your book and then getting it up for distribution and sales. I needed that help. Some people who self-publish do not do that because it is costly
Sure.
to do it. But I just felt
Especially
like
on your
I needed
first book.
more.
Like I think it's good to have some, continue to
Right.
follow the path that you've been taking and then, have people who've done this before kind of help you out. And
Exactly. And then for those who didn't want to do that, or if they had more time, because I knew I was ultimately going to get back to flying here, um, Journey to Kidlit also has courses that you can take that shows you how to self-publish and do all the things that I was afraid of, but
yeah.
I just wanted the hand holding. So from there, I ended up extracting my books, and now I have second edition versions. I became involved with a local photographer. I'm in Dog Mom magazine. She
Yes.
facilitated that. So I did this great photo sessions with her. And then
Awesome.
once I had those photos, I wanted to integrate them into my book.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I did that, and then I, so now also now that I got my footing, like I just wanted to basically be able to benefit from the sales because
Oh,
once the
sure.
hybrid publisher was involved, they get a cut of the pie. I
Right.
mean, for a children's book, I'm not selling something that's $200. So by the time everyone got a cut, it was like I was profiting less than $1 a
Right.
book. So I appreciated everything that they did. They're called Biblio Kid Publishing.
Hmm.
But like I said, I graduated and it was time for me to kind of go out my own. Then I
Yeah.
got Dexter, and then I did the second book with Dexter. Just basically me and the illustrator did.
And we'll touch on the Dexter book on our next thing. So we're going to take a
Yeah.
quick break and we will be back together. I guess it'll be a week apart for listeners, but thank you for joining and we will be right back again.